Let's start off with you, Mr. Galliano, because this falls into your old bailiwick with the FBI. I mean, they, as Jay Carson, the U.S. Attorney, said, conducted this investigation incredibly swiftly. Nobody has gotten any sleep. They got the two suspects and they got the charges already. This was wrapped up pretty quickly.
Yeah, just chilling details that were just laid out by the police commissioner down at One Police Plaza. And I got to tell you, John, this is chilling for a number of reasons. First of all, they were charged. The top charge was providing material support to ISIS. Now, we always talk about whether or not somebody was directed or inspired. These look like young men, disaffected, disenchanted, that decided to do something like this and picked a target, which is New York City, the #1 terrorist target in the world, and use what's called TATP, or triacetone triperoxide. Now, what is that? That is not something that you can buy over the counter. Now, you can buy the precursor chemicals, but once you put this together, it's exceedingly unstable. And the fact that they tried to light it, they tried to detonate it, and that nobody was killed is a miracle. And lastly, I'll close with this, John. The police commissioner said it this morning in the first press conference. This instance right here was the NYPD acting on instincts and acting on their training. You had senior level officials jumping over stanchions and barricades and chasing these people down. An incredible act of heroism on all their parts.
Adding to the details, we've learned the automated license plate reader is what captured the suspects, both Pennsylvania residents, entering New York City from New Jersey. And it captured them less than an hour before this noontime attack. But to the point of that question from a reporter in the room just a moment ago, James, I mean, shouldn't we all be appalled that they can just get in a car, drive on into the city, have these explosives? And I mean, it is just that easy.
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. We always talk about, that line, that continuum between civil liberties and wanting to live in a free country like we do, and then trying to protect and keep us safe. Look, the NYPD is a 36,000 police officer department. It is the best of the best. And they're married up with the FBI in the New York office down in New York City, and they do a great job. But I've heard this said many times over the years. Remember, the bad guys only have to get it right once. The good guys have to get it right every single time. And in this instance, luck played a part in this, and the fact that you had police officers running to the sound of the guns, that was the margin of victory here to stop these two terrorists.
You know, Jessica Tisch, the commissioner, called it the greatest police force in the world, and there's ample evidence that it is a very, very strong police force, and she's an incredibly strong police commissioner as well. Let's bring in Trey Gowdy now, because I was talking with Pam Bondi over a text message a moment ago. She told me this, Trey. She said, it's a miracle nothing happened, and our great men and women of law enforcement will fight each day to protect our country. These guys wanted to do Boston Marathon bombing 2.0. We all saw what happened back in 2013, those horrific pictures at the finish line there. It's only by the grace of God that these things did not go off.
Yeah, it also highlights kind of a weakness in our system, if you will. I'd be curious what Professor Hugh thinks about it. But prosecutors are really good after the fact. After something bad happens, I mean, you don't want to have a great success record as a homicide prosecutor because it means you got a big stack of bodies. But the last question you heard at the press conference is, and the same one Sandra just asked, how do you prevent it? Well, we got a debate going on right now in Congress about how to prevent it. And you got members of the House and Senate that want probable cause, warrant level for our foreign surveillance. How in the world do you expect cops to stop a car that is coming into a major city like New York unless you have surveillance programs? If you're going to require a warrant, which by the way is what you need to indict, if you're going to require that, then we're going to continue to be a reactive criminal justice system. I think most people don't want the crime to take place. They want to stop it ahead of time. If that's true, then I don't want to hear any more about a warrant requirement for our foreign surveillance programs.
Just glad this obviously wasn't worse than the details we've learned so far. Just going through further the complaint, the suspect's vehicle was registered to one of the suspects, Balat's relatives. They discovered that yesterday, a few blocks from where they were arrested. Trey, but to go back to your point, I mean, you know, people see this happen, they see how easily it can happen, and they fear that there could be more.
There will be more. That's my point. There will be more. Unless, now, we can't do anything about it. These were both U.S. citizens. There's not much we can do about it here except reasonable, honest people give tips ahead of time. So our system is reactive. Jay Clayton is an amazing U.S. attorney, but he reacts. We all react. The goal is to stop it. We can stop the stuff overseas. I wonder if any of their overseas visits were picked up in any of our FISA programs. I'd be really curious, since we're debating reauthorizing those, whether or not any of this chatter was picked up. If you want to stop it from happening, Sandra, you can't wait until the murder prosecution afterwards.
Well, let's get to John Yoo on that topic then. You know, again, it's only by the grace of God, John, that people weren't killed, maimed, otherwise injured. When you take a look at the construction of those explosive devices covered in bolts, sheet metal screws, and other devices that would have inflicted terrible harm. But again, to Sandra's point, how do you prevent this from happening if you're not given the adequate surveillance tools?
Excellent point, John. We should be grateful for the police and the FBI who came in to stop it. But as Trey said, the criminal justice system is reactive. It comes in after the harm has occurred. If you want to address what Sandra said, you want to address what the reporter there asked, how do you stop it from happening? You're not going to be able in an open society like ours to shut down the movement of people, to shut down communications. So that is impossible. The only way, and we learned this after 9/11, the only way to stop future terrorist attacks on our homeland is to go to the source and take preventive action in Iran, to take preventive action in the Middle East where these terrorist groups are forming, where they're trying to send people here, where they're trying to radicalize. The Iran war is going to create the circumstances where a foreign government is going to try to stoke more of these attacks. The best way to stop this from happening is finishing off the Iranian government and the Iranian military forces. And remembering we're at war with these terrorist groups. We should not be, as Trey said, in a reactive, after-the-fact posture after a bomb has gone off. We want to break up their networks, intercept their communications, and stop the attacks before they happen.
Yeah, I mean, John, as they just detailed in this news conference, they were aiming to have something worse than the Boston Marathon bombings in 2013. John, what else sticks out to you? Obviously, having read through the court documents, having just received the news conference, any details you feel like you're missing that you want to know more about?
You know, I'm here in Austin, Texas, where we just had a shooting last week that was connected to the war. I grew up just a few minutes short drive from where these two terrorists are from, and that is a peaceful, happy suburb of Philadelphia. That's a reminder that our country is vulnerable. And it's a reminder that it's going to be hard to stop these attacks once they're radicalized and inside the United States. So one thing you're not going to see in the complaint yet, but hopefully we'll hear about in the trial, if there's going to be one, if these guys don't plead guilty, is how did they get radicalized? Were they in communication with ISIS? Were they in communication with Iran? And any of those nodes, any of those communications, did they go to other people? Were they helped in any way? What the government has to do now is start rolling up whatever network participated in supporting these attackers and, God forbid, make sure that those networks aren't present elsewhere in the country.
Let's bring it back to James Galliano for a final thought here. You know, if you look at the parallels between this and the Boston Marathon bombing, you know, it's widely believed that Dzhokhar Tsarnaev was talked into this by his older brother Tamerlan. But the two perpetrators in this alleged incident seem to have been working hand in glove with each other, which takes it to an even greater level, I think, than the Tsarnaev brothers.
Yeah, John, going even further back than that, across the last probably 2 or 3 decades, the 4 most deadly terrorist groups in the world, thousands and tens of thousands of people killed and maimed every year, are the same 4. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, and the Taliban. And in this instance, and people look at this and they see this softball-sized device that the New York Times incredulously referred to as glass and metal, but that device was a weapon of mass destruction. People have to understand that bombs, this is what they do. They kill you via overpressure. They kill you because of the fragmentation. And we know that there were nails and screws, metal inside of this device. And then there's the incendiary component as well. And look, go back before the Boston bombing. Go back before that to Richard Reed. He uses the same TATP. He was the sneaker bomber that was unsuccessful on a transatlantic flight. But this has been going on for 25 years. Yeah. Yes, the price of freedom always is eternal vigilance, and we got to stay vigilant on this.
Trey, final thought?
Final thought is the Boston Marathon killers were both welcomed to this country because they were fleeing oppression in another country. And the thanks we got, Sandra, was dead Americans and maimed Americans that are missing limbs. And these two defendants were American citizens. So it's not just what's happening overseas. Something is happening inside this country that we have to get our arms around. If you're granted asylum or refugee status and your way of saying thank you is to blow people's legs off at a Boston Marathon, we got problems in this culture.
All right, so John, you wrap it up for us, because here we have two suspects that were not on anybody's radar screen that could have taken lives, caused hellacious damage with these two bombs had they gone off. And like the Boston Marathon bombers, there was no indication that this was about to take place. And you don't know how people get self-radicalized. There's no warning indication publicly, for the most part, that this is happening. And kind of these lone wolf attacks, even though there was two people involved here, are the most difficult to protect against. So what do you do?
That's the hardest question, John. We should count ourselves fortunate. There have been much worse terror attacks in places like Spain and France and Germany and Great Britain. We have to be vigilant at home, but I can't stress enough, this is, I think, being prompted because of our wars in the Middle East. And we have to realize, while we have enormous conventional warfare dominance over places like Iran, they're going to try to respond asymmetrically and try to stoke harm against us using these terrorist methods against us at home. That means, I think, not only do we redouble our vigilance here, but we have to take the war to the people there and finish the job there. That will be the ultimate, I think, answer to making sure that we're secure at home, is to end the war abroad successfully. And that means, if that's regime change in Tehran, which I think is the main state supporter of terrorism worldwide and has been an enemy of ours since the 1970s, then I think President Trump is on the right track to get regime change done there first.
James, John, Trey, thank you very much to all three of you for joining us on this breaking news this afternoon. Appreciate
it, guys. Thanks.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.